Have you ever watched something like a Nintendo Direct or Nintendo Indie Direct, and you see this game being featured that catches your eye, but you don't really know what it's called or when it's going to come out? For me, that was Blue Fire. I saw this game in Nintendo Indie Direct about a year and a half ago, and I saw this cel-shaded ninja going from platform to platform, kicking enemies' butt, and just looking really awesome. But I did not know when it was coming out, I didn't know what it was called, and knew nothing. But then I learned what the game was, and I saw that it got a physical release, and I knew I had to jump up on it. So now the question is, does it live up to the hype that the teaser trailer had showed me? Let's find out. The story for this game is mostly backstory. There are 5 gods, 4 of whom were cooperative, and 1 of whom turned against the other 4. In the war between these gods, the queen of the realm of Penumbra ended up getting corrupted by the evil god, which introduced monsters, called shadows, into the kingdom. Your job, as Umbra, is to explore the kingdom of Penumbra, helping out the citizens along the way, and eventually slaying the queen. The story doesn't really advance as you play. Rather, you are given directions by a few different characters, and more of the world's backstory is revealed to you, and once you kill the queen, the game ends. So let's move on to the combat. I've heard this game's combat described as floaty, and I think that it is, but it's by design. Your character possesses 2 swords, no shields. As the game progresses, you receive more and more platforming power-ups and almost no new attacks. The one attack you do get, the spin attack, I used all of 3 times. As you unlock more powers, you get more power from attacking from the air and from farther away. Therefore, the player is incentivized to attack from the air. You aren't supposed to take a hit from an enemy, you're supposed to dodge the enemy and then attack while they're distracted. When done well, you feel like a ninja, and when you fail, you can feel the consequences. I would point out that you receive no defensive bonuses other than getting more hearts, so if you get hit, it hurts. But as you get stronger swords, you hurt the enemies to the same degree, so ultimately it balances out. There are 2 types of equipment that really matter. Items that give you new abilities, and then new swords. Swords are just straight numerical upgrades, almost all of them found in the wild or via quests, although the strongest set you do have to buy. With the exception of 1 pair of swords that act as keys for 1 discrete quest, no swords have a direct impact on gameplay. The same cannot be said for new abilities. As you play the game, you get the ability to wall jump, to double jump, to sprint, and to hit faraway enemies with a ranged attack. This gives the game a Metroidvania feel that as you learn more movement abilities, you can go back and explore new areas. Speaking of exploration, around the kingdom, you'll find statues that will sell you a new emote for 200 ore. The only use for these emotes is to unlock secret chests by applying the correct emote, which is told to you on the pad that you perform it on, at the right panel, and then going to the other panel where the chest spawns. Rewards can range from ore to gems to equipment to quest items for side quests. The system kind of feels a little bit tacked on, but it's inoffensive. Now, sold by vendors and found around the castle are spirits. Spirits either give you all new abilities, such as being able to dash twice, or to walk on an invisible platform when you walk off the edge, or they give you enhancements to your natural toolkit, like giving you twice the amount of ore spawned, extra attack power, extra attack range, or boosting your aerial attacks. You can swap them in and out at different rest points in the game, and you can increase the amount of slots by exchanging the void souls earned from voids. And voids are the highlight feature of the game. They are special platforming levels with no enemies, much in the vein of Super Mario Sunshine or certain levels of Super Mario Odyssey. These levels can range from fairly easy to brutally hard. By beating them, you gain an extra heart and 30 void souls, which help you increase the amount of spirits equipped. While this is a debatable point, I do kind of wish there was a checkpoint system in these, particularly in the hard ones. Going all the way through a hard level and dying at an unknown challenge and then having to get all the way through again from the beginning just to practice the new challenge is very demoralizing. I have hours of footage of me just trying to beat a specific void before finally giving up. And I didn't beat all of the voids before I beat the game. But on the whole, I absolutely love this system. Now, the game has two what I call definite dungeons and one half of a dungeon. The definite dungeons play like a Zelda game if Link was a ninja with a jump button. Explore the area, find keys, unlock doors, solve puzzles, and then unlock a new ability. Use that new ability to complete the rest of the dungeon and beat the boss, and then move on. However, only 2 dungeons actually give you new abilities. The half dungeon, as I call it, the Steamworks, feels almost like it was an outdoor area, but the presence of locked doors make it a dungeon, in my opinion. But that's it. You can tell the game was designed to be structured as follows. Outdoor area, dungeon, town. Outdoor area, dungeon, town. Maybe you swap the dungeon and the town, depending on how it's laid out. But after the second dungeon, dungeons just disappear, and there's only one more town. You can tell that this is part of a cramped development cycle. Now, bosses in this game are, for the most part, well designed. The early bosses are pretty easy, taking only a few attempts. Later bosses, such as the 3 spirits or the final boss, are much harder, but their attacks are well telegraphed, so you can learn the pattern. It does feel rewarding to spend attempt after attempt after attempt on a boss, and then you finally get it down. It feels the same way as it felt to beat a Mega Man boss, as I mentioned in a previous review. There is a keen lack of anything rewarding from beating bosses, though, other than simply progressing the game. I would have liked something extra in the same vein of heart containers from Zelda. Just a little something to give you that extra oomph for beating the boss. Overall, this game was quite excellent to play. One of its biggest strengths is its aesthetics. Wind Waker meets Dark Souls, I've seen some call it. The cel-shaded look gives the game a charm that you rarely see. I stated earlier in the video that the game has a Metroidvania feel, that you can go back and explore more areas as you gain more abilities. And this is helped by the fact that the game map is compact. Rather than spread everything out, the game world is dense, filled with things to see and do. It was an especially thrilling discovery every time I found a new void. Not only would this mean I would get a new heart container and work towards a new spirit slot, it was also a new level to play. And I think this is one of Blue Fire's strongest facets. The reward for curiosity is that you get to play some of the best parts of the game. By playing the game, you unlock more of the game. And this game will kick your ass. Bosses and dungeons are one thing. You can figure those out relatively quickly after a few attempts. But these 5-star voids, forget about it. I got close, very close, to finishing 1 or 2 of them, but they require such pixel-perfect jumping that after hours of attempts, I just decided to stop. But here's the thing. That's not the game's fault. Outside of 1 or 2 isolated incidents, all of my failures at these harder challenges, they were my fault. I could see what I had to do, and it was up to me to execute it. And the sense of accomplishment you get when you finally overcome a tough void is fantastic. You can literally feel yourself becoming a better platformer. At the same time, as my own playthrough shows, you do not need to do every void to beat the game. The final boss was quite manageable without having all of the hearts. This gives the player flexibility. How much sweat and tears do you want to put into this game until you've decided you had enough? It's the same design philosophy as Super Mario 64 or Breath of the Wild, and ultimately, it means that the game respects the player. If I had one criticism of this game, it would be the lack of a goddamn map. Why is there no map? Just something that told me where certain locations were relative to others would have been enough. But for a game reliant upon exploration and backtracking, the lack of a map of any sort borders on the inexcusable. Luckily, the locations are distinctive enough and small enough that you can learn where everything is in due course. But in a sequel, a map needs to be included. Full stop. This game is fantastic, and it's the developer's first game. And it's clear to me that these developers love their game as much as I did. Not only did they release a strategy guide, just like stuff with this, with the great artwork and everything, online for free. They've also promised upcoming content just because they love the game that much, and I can't wait to check that content out. I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye on this developing studio, and I sincerely hope that a Blue Fire 2 is in the cards. Thanks for watching.